So we'll go ahead and have a seat as usual. And just take a really deep breath in. And a big exhale. There she is. Nope, that's somebody else. All right, cool. And just go ahead and close your eyes and settle in. And as you're getting settled, just check in with how your body feels. Notice anything that might need attention in addition to perhaps your hamstrings, which may or may not need attention, but they're getting it today anyway. And then just start breathing deeper and slower. So let's do some Ujjayi breathing. And then just notice those other parts of you inside, thoughts, emotions, energy. And then we're going to bring our palms together, take a moment and set our personal intentions for practice today. Extra deep breath in. Exhale through the mouth again. Excellent. We are going to start in a standing position today. Yeah. So go ahead and find your way to the front of the mat. We're just going to start in Tadasana, mountain pose. So your feet are hip distance apart. You can have them touching if you prefer. That's actually the way I was taught, but a lot of people feel steadier with a little bit of distance between the feet. You may do either one. I want you to just go ahead and feel really aligned, lengthened, straight. And then take a really big inhale, reach the arms up, stretch out. As you exhale, you're gonna bend your knees and drape forward and fold in your ragdoll and relax your neck. And then as you're just kind of hanging here, letting your spine lengthen like we always do in our ragdoll, I want you to notice how when you bend your knees, you can hinge at the hips a little more, right? So this is going to make a difference in our forward bends later. It's like we're trying to put those front hip bones onto the top of the thighs. Just take a couple more breaths here. And then you may want to straighten your legs a little bit, or you may actually want to bend them more. We're going to put the hands on the ground and pull the chest forward, looking forward to lengthen, and then back down. I want you to step back with your left leg, so you get a nice deep lunge. Just hold that for a couple of breaths. Do a right foot forward lunge. And since our emphasis today is hamstrings, I want you to get to a place where you can feel that even here in this position. It is the body's inclination to stay away from pain, and that's a very good impulse. We're happy it has that. But sometimes we need to just sort of touch the edge of discomfort to find a stretch. So what normally happens is people get into this lunge and they push, particularly into their front foot, to keep the hips up. I would like for you to release some of the pressure on your front foot and let your hips start to sink towards the ground. Don't let your left knee hit. It's okay if it bends. Notice if you can get into feeling your right hamstring. And then we'll go ahead and put the left knee down. Extend your right leg all the way if you can. Now, because we are focusing on the hamstrings today, if you don't have a big step when you do this and your leg doesn't go straight, pick your right foot up and move it forward if you need to. As much as possible, the right leg is straight. And then, of course, we'll flex ankle and toes. But what I want you to kind of play with is tightening the top of your thigh and maybe pushing your chest forward. So again, our inclination is to kind of want to get somewhere. A lot of people like to round and put their head on their knee. Well, that looks cool, but it's not accomplishing as much. So think about tightening the top of your thigh, tipping your right hip bone to the front of the thigh or pointing your tailbone up, and then pulling your chest forward. That should give you a little bit of awareness in that right hamstring. Go ahead and bend your right knee. Bring the arms up and overhead. We'll tilt the pelvis back and sink the hips forward because we're not going to neglect the front side of our bodies. Remember, yoga is about balance. If we're really working on opening up the back side of the thighs, we'll make sure that we get a little bit of action to open the front side of the thighs. Take 2 more breaths here. And then we're just going to bring both hands down inside the right foot. So before you do anything, just stay on your hands. Pull your right knee in towards your upper arm or towards your torso. And stay true to that. Even if you can't get down onto the forearm or forearms, you can always use a block. Or if the legs are tight, just bend your elbows a little bit. I want your right inner thigh or right knee to stay in contact with your torso. So coming on to maybe the left forearm or a block. A lot of times I'll ask people to keep their legs straight up. I have a private client that does this, and so that they'll be close in, and instead they're rotating over to the left. There's Etta. All right. So keep hugging that right knee in. Start letting your hips sink. Start pulling your right hip back. You should start to feel something on the back of your right thigh. Take 1 more breath. And then come back up onto your hands. Take your right knee back to meet your left knee. Go ahead and wag for a moment and take your first child's pose. And by the way, because of the emphasis of our practice, those of you that are doing vinyasas after this child's pose, you're welcome to go. Like, you could even take one now. All right, the rest of us are going to go ahead and do our first Sphinx and lengthen out. Remember, you can do as much of a flow here as you want. And then we'll take downward facing dog. Now, downward facing dog is yet another opportunity to let those hamstrings lengthen. So if you need to pedal your feet for a moment, that's fine, but let's find some stillness. And as usual, press those hips back. Imagine you're trying to poke your tailbone up at the ceiling, and then really straighten the knees and press your heels down. And you should be able to get into some hamstrings. If you've got your feet real close to your hands and you're doing this little shorty down dog so that your heels will be flat, you're totally cheating yourself. Walk those feet back enough that there's some real effort involved in getting those heels towards the ground. Take 1 more breath. And then we'll step forward with the left foot. So now we're in that left foot forward lunge, just like we did on the other side. I want you to kind of fine tune this. Don't stay in your comfort zone because nothing changes there. Start to allow your pelvis, your hips to drop. Even if your right knee bends, I don't mind, just don't let it hit the ground. Start letting your hips drop and sink until you feel this in the back of the left thigh. So in other words, try not to hold yourself up. And then we'll go ahead and drop the right knee on purpose and extend the left leg. Again, if your leg can't go straight because you've got it too close to you, pick it up and move it forward. We really want the leg straight today. Flex the ankle and toes. And then let's do like we did on the other side. I want you to make sure your knee is straight. I want you to tighten the top of your left thigh. try and get your left hip bone to tip forward onto the thigh, or think about trying to poke your tailbone up towards the ceiling and then pull your chest forward. When you start fine-tuning the poses, you get so much more out of them. You guys are all experienced, so the fine-tuning is appropriate here. Let's take one more breath. Bend the left knee, bring the arms up and overhead, because of course we don't neglect the front side. Sink your hips forward, lift your chest, and just find that stretching and opening on the front of your right thigh, right hip. We'll bring both hands down inside the left foot, and I want to do just like we did before. Don't even come onto your forearms yet. Hug your left knee in until it's touching flesh. In this case, it should be touching your left upper arm. And then don't change where your hands are. Start to bend the elbows. Okay, and then if you know you can come to your forearm, now you can change where your hand is. You'll put your right elbow where your right hand was. Maybe the left one goes down, but you're gonna keep contact between the inside of your left thigh and your skin. So once you're down, in order to really feel this in the back of the left thigh, pull your left hip back and your right hip forward and gaze forward if you can. Those are all just ways to enhance and fine tune the stretch. They may not all be appropriate for everybody, but you do what you have to get sensation in the back of the left thigh. Then we bring the hands back to the mat, step forward, standing forward bend. And let's talk about our forward bend again. It's about the pelvis. So if your legs are straight, and I'm kind of exaggerating at this, but and your torso is way far away from your thighs, then that's not truly a forward bend. I'd like you to bend your knees a little bit. You can even put your hands on your pelvis if you need to, and tip your pelvis forward until you can feel your belly or your rib cage on your thighs. And then if you can maintain that contact and straighten the legs, go for it. But if there's still a little bend in the knees, that's fine. You'll get more out of it and your hamstrings will actually stretch here. Take one more breath. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, fold forward and stretch. Make sure your pelvis is tipping onto your thighs. Look up and lengthen the spine. And then back down. And so this time we're going to step back with our right foot. Deep lunge. Take a moment and play with what you just learned about how to refine this to get into your left hamstring. Good. And then gaze forward for a flat back and just slowly begin to straighten your left leg. If you have tight hamstrings, it's not going to straighten, and that's okay because you should still be feeling it. Try not to hunch around the back. Try not to slide your hands back. Hands stay on either side of the left leg. If you're true to poking your tailbone up towards the ceiling and tipping your pelvis forward, you'll feel the stretch even if your left knee is bent. Try and keep the chest pulling forward. Take one more breath here. And then I want you to bend your left knee, spin that right heel inward, and you're going to come up into a warrior two. Let's go ahead and reverse our warrior. Take your right hand onto your right thigh. Reach your left arm up and over. Come all the way back up. Now listen, we're going to scooch our left foot forward. What? Yes, please. Then go ahead and straighten your left leg. Lengthen your rib cage out to the left. Be very mindful of coming into your triangle today. So if you're one of those people, and I'm sure you wouldn't be, one of those people who leans forward to get their hand to the floor or something, don't do that today. Before you go down, make sure that your torso is over your left leg. Maybe start just below the knee. Keep yourself aligned, keep the spine lengthened, and begin to slide down if you need to. Really important, particularly today, is to keep your left leg straight. If you have the ability to tighten the top of your left thigh, your quadricep, do that. And then take a couple more breaths. You should feel this in your left hamstring and inner thigh. And then what we're going to do here is bring the right hand down, swivel onto your right toes, and drop your right knee down. Now, I already had you walk your left foot forward a little bit. I'd like you to walk it forward a little more. Only as much as you can. We're going to play with just the prep for front splits. We're not doing the full thing today, so no panicking. All right, let's extend the left leg and get it straight. And ideally, your right thigh is way beyond vertical, like you're trying to get your hips forward. Now, if you can scoot your left foot even farther forward, do that. And then you're going to inhale and flex your foot back. And as you exhale, push through the ball of the foot and maybe slide your heel forward. Inhale, flex your foot back. Exhale, push like you're pushing on the gas. One more time, inhale, flex the foot back. Exhale and press and just hold for 2 more breaths. Okay, I will give you time to get out of this and get into a down dog. If you need an easy way out, left hand comes to the inside of your left leg and you can just kind of swing it out to the side and then you'll be able to move into your downward facing dog. And I want you to really focus on pressing those hips back, tipping your pelvis forward, pressing the heels down. Now, if you're like me, I can already feel the difference between my left hamstring and my right. I can tell I've worked my left, it's looser. So hopefully you can feel the same thing. Those of you who take vinyasas, feel free to throw one in here. The rest of us are going to drop to our knees and just do a couple of cat-cows. Just to give you a moment to rest and to give our perky people time to take a vinyasa. And then we're going to go back into downward facing dog. Press those hips back, stretch. Good. Walk your feet all the way forward. Standing forward bend. I know I don't need to tell you, but make sure that your hip bones are tipping forward. Inhale, arms come up. Exhale, palms together. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale and look up. And exhale, back down. So this time we're stepping back with our left foot. And I want you to practice those alignment cues of feeling into your right hamstring. In other words, not holding yourself up, but rather letting yourself go. Find that sensation. Keep your hands on either side of your right foot. So don't change your hand position and don't hunch around your back. Look forward and begin to straighten your right leg. It might not go all the way straight. Doesn't matter. You don't win a prize if it does. You just want to find sensation in the back of your right thigh. If you can tighten your right quadricep, great. If you can tip your pelvis forward more, great. You do whatever you've got to do to get the right amount of stretching happening in the back of your right thigh. Now, from here, we're going to go ahead and just spin that left heel inward and come up to a warrior two. We'll go ahead and reverse it here. Left hand on the left thigh, right arm up and over. Come back up into your warrior two, just like I did on the other side. I'm going to ask you to scoot your right foot forward and then straighten your right leg. Remember, no leaning forward. You're going to keep yourself totally aligned over your right leg as you lengthen out for triangle. Maybe start with your right hand on your right shin, left hand up. So no leaning forward. You're staying aligned. You're keeping your right leg straight, keeping your spine lengthened. And you just slide down to wherever you need to be today. Try and tighten your quadricep, the top of your right thigh. Try and keep your spine long. Try and keep that leg straight. Good. And then we're going to bring the left hand down, swivel onto the left toes and drop your left knee down. So again, I've already got you with your right foot a lot farther forward than you normally would have it, but I want you to scooch it even farther forward. So we're going into that split prep. Just a prep. You're only preparing for it. You're not going to actually do it. Inhale, flex your right foot back. Exhale, press through the ball of the foot. Maybe slide your foot forward. Inhale, flex your right ankle back. Exhale, press. One more time. Inhale, flex back. Exhale and press. And then come out of that into downward facing dog. Remember, you can put your right hand inside your right leg and just swing that leg back. All right, same cues as everything. Poke your tailbone up towards the ceiling. Straighten your legs if you can. Press your heels down. Press your hips back. Get into those hamstrings. Those of you that would like to take a full vinyasa, take one. The rest of us are going to drop to our knees and take a child's pose. Just kind of let this soak in for a moment. That's a lot of hamstring work already. And then we'll scoot forward into Sphinx, or you're welcome to do Cobra if that's a better option for you. And then downward facing dog. Really stretch it in this down dog. Feel what you've accomplished. Hopefully, both hamstrings feel about the same. And then we're going to walk our feet forward. Standing forward bend. Please make sure you do it properly. Tip your pelvis forward. If you need to bend your knees, bend your knees. And then inhale up. Exhale, prayer. All right, it's time to grab your strap. So if I didn't catch you in time to tell you to get a strap, run, get one if you don't already have one. Long scarf, a bathrobe belt, piece of rope, any of those things work. So here's the deal about this today. We're being really mindful of our form. Again, it's fine-tuning the poses. If you know that you're balance challenged, or if you know it's just one of those days, I'm happy for you to have your back against the wall, because one of the things that we're going to focus on today is being perfectly vertical. Even if you can grab your foot and extend your legs straight, I want you to use a strap today. So we're going to stand on our right foot first, and we're going to loop the left foot. And then you're just going to stand back down on it, all right? Feet are beside each other. You've got your strap in your hand. Forget about it, though. I want you to come into Tadasana, so mountain pose. Just like at the beginning of the class, right? I made you just take a moment and get straight and aligned. So I want you to find that same position. And now watch yourself, because without fail, people will lean forward to reach down and grab this strap and lift their leg. You are not allowed to lean forward today. I can't reach my hand through the phone and snag you, but I would if I could. So here's the deal. No hinging at the hips, no leaning forward. You are perfectly vertical, and you're going to stay that way and begin to lift your left leg. I don't care how high it goes. You're going to make sure your left leg is straight. And you're going to start hoisting it up, however high that needs to be for you. If you're super flexible, just keep pulling on your strap until you get your leg as high as you need to. Tighten the top of your left thigh. Keep your torso totally vertical and breathe. We're looking for sensation in the back of the left thigh. And go ahead and lower down. Switch feet. Loop your right foot, and yes, I'm going to make you do the whole darn thing over again. Your feet are beside each other. And you are gonna stand in Tadasana. Spinal alignment makes so much difference in your balance and also makes a big difference in your benefit of your stretch. So chest is lifted. We are in a perfect mountain pose here. We're not gonna lean or move our torso at all. We're just gonna start raising our right leg, taking up however much slack we need to. And you guys, it doesn't matter if your leg is only an inch off the ground. If your spine is straight and you're feeling it in your hamstring, you're perfect. Your right leg should be totally straight. Your spine should be vertical. You're actually trying to tighten the top of your right thigh, and you're breathing. Lower that right leg down. You can put your strap down, but keep it within reach. So if you had a little bit of balance challenge, no worries, you get to do all that on your back with some other good stuff. So feet together, palms together. Take a big inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale and fold all the way forward. Look up halfway and exhale all the way back down. Remember, belly to thighs. You're gonna step back with your left foot. And if you took a really big step back, congratulations, but for once I'm actually gonna tell you to shorten it a little bit and then step your left foot out to the left slightly and put your heel down. So if you're still hanging forward, if you look between your feet, you should have maybe 4 to 6 inches of width, like if they were together, no wider than that though, right? So maybe the width of half of your mat at the most. And then you can keep your right leg straight and come on up. So it's sort of like a warrior one, a little bit shorter. Both legs are straight, left heel is flat. Try and rotate your hips forward. Doesn't have to be perfect. So here's the thing. We're gonna tighten the top of the right thigh. A lot of yogis call that lifting your kneecap. Whatever works for you. Try and get the top of your right thigh tight. You can press through the back of the right knee. Now, depending upon your shoulder mobility, most advanced would be reverse prayer. That's your palms touching, sliding up between your shoulder blades. Second position that's a little less advanced is grabbing your elbows behind your back. For those of us with less than happy shoulders, interlacing the fingers behind the back and squeezing the shoulder blades is a good option. We're gonna keep the right hip pulling back. We're gonna keep our right leg straight, and we're gonna keep our shoulder blades squeezed and begin to hinge at the hips. We're trying to tip that right hip bone to the top of a very straight right thigh. Remember, it doesn't matter how far you go. Don't curve your back. Don't round your hips. Don't round your back. Don't bend your knee. Just breathe. Gravity can be your friend here. Keep the spine long. One more breath. Hands down, step your left foot forward, just come back up to standing. We're gonna do the other side. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Remember the rules about your forward bend. Inhale, look up and lengthen. Exhale, torso to thighs. Right leg steps back, but not a huge step back. So it's a little shorter than you would for your warrior one or warrior two. Little bit of distance between the feet, but not a lot. You don't want a really wide stance here. And then go ahead and come up. Both legs are straight. As much as you can, you try and rotate the hips forward. Doesn't have to be perfect. Top of the left thigh tightens. So you're tightening your quadricep. Choose your hand position. You've got 3 choices, right? And then you're hinging at your left hip, keeping your shoulder blades squeezed. Keeping the top of your left thigh active, left leg straight. You are lengthening your spine over that left leg. And you're taking your time because it takes a few breaths to get all the way down and maintain form. Left leg is straight. Spine is straight. Trying to tip that left hip bone to the top of the left thigh. You have to breathe while you're doing all this. Both hands down beside your left foot. Step forward. Standing forward bend. Inhale up. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Inhale, reach up. This is your last standing forward bend. So as you exhale, tip your pelvis forward onto your thighs and just pause for a moment. You might notice this is a lot easier than the first one you did today. And then we're just going to move back onto hands and knees. Wag the tail, because yay, the standing part is over. And take a child's pose. From this child's pose, we're scooting into Sphinx. And the downward facing dog. This is your last down dog. Please spread your fingers out. Flatten your palms. Push strongly through the hands to reach your hips back. And then imagine again that you're kind of trying to tip your pelvis forward. So poke your tailbone up towards the ceiling. Try and straighten your legs. And keep pressing through the hands while you start pressing your heels down. You should feel your hamstrings. Take a couple of breaths. And then walk your feet forward. Have a seat. Find your sit bones. And you can just take a moment in Dandasana. Even Dandasana should feel a little easier, right? You should be able to lengthen through the back of the thighs, tighten the top, flex your feet, find a straight spine. So just take a moment to check in. And then we're going to bend the left knee, bring it to the inside of your right thigh. And just like we did from a standing position, I want you to think about tipping your pelvis forward. So it's really easy to keep this stationary and round forward. But today, I want you to actually put your right hand at your hip and just kind of scoot your torso forward a little bit. You'll feel a tiny action at the hip. It may not be a lot, but you've already changed the cant or angle of your pelvis. You're trying to get that right hip bone to sort of start to tip forward, like you're trying to poke your tailbone out behind you. Then lean out over your right leg. Remember, none of this matters about what it looks like. You're trying to keep that sensation in your right hamstring. And by the way, you are welcome to use your strap for this, because of course we're going to do hair and it's the best hamstring stretch. So go ahead and raise your right leg up. And if you want to put your strap over your right foot, that's fine. Lift your chest, straight right leg. And then if you need to, pull. Extend that right leg all the way back out onto the ground. Let your left leg extend beside it. Reconnect to your sit bones and bring your right foot to the inside of your left thigh. Same thing, left hand at your hip and just do that little kick your pelvis forward thing. It's kind of like you're trying to poke your belly button forward. You'll feel your pelvis shift slightly. That's where you lean out from. Long spine, like you're trying to put your stomach to your thigh. Try and keep your legs straight. Don't worry about what it looks like. Find some sensation in the back of your left thigh. If you want to use your strap, please do. We're going into hair and lift that left leg up. Make sure your knee is straight. Lift your chest. And then if you need to, give yourself a little bit more stretch sensation. It's completely up to you today. We'll put the left leg back down. Let the right leg extend out over it. Make sure you're on your sit bones. Lean out over both legs for just a moment. And just like that, you get to roll onto your back, hug your knees in, and rock side to side. Make sure your strap is within reach. So you're just gonna rock side to side for a moment. And then we're gonna grab the strap. So just pretend that you've never done this with me before, or that you've never done it at all. Because again, we're fine tuning today. So we're gonna be really particular about all the little details that normally we just kind of blow off. I want you to loop your right foot and then put it on the ground. And put your left leg all the way out beside it. Now, your left leg is going to stay active. I want you to actually try and press the back of your left thigh into the ground and keep your foot flexed. And then start raising your right leg. Now your right leg has to stay straight and your left leg has to stay down. We're taking our time. It's kind of like what we did standing, except now you get to lie down and do it. So no bending of the right knee, no bending of the left knee, no cheating, right? We just really want to feel a lot of sensation in the back of the right thigh. And so maybe the leg doesn't go as high as you think it should. But why should it go anywhere other than where it feels right? So like stay out of your head with this, stay in your body. Left leg is glued to the ground and very active. Right leg is wherever it needs to be. Hopefully you have a long enough strap. So make sure your right knee is straight. We're going to take a couple more breaths here. And then I want you to keep your right side of your pelvis just as grounded as it is right now. This is not a twist. So really be mindful about this part. It's huge, right? You're going to keep your right leg perfectly straight. You're going to keep the right glute and hip totally glued down to the mat. And I mean, it's a tiny, tiny move. Barely start crossing the right leg towards the middle of your body. Don't let your hip roll. Don't twist. Keep that right leg straight. Take a couple of breaths. If you're doing it right, I know you're feeling it. All right, you can unloop your right leg, give your right knee a hug, tell it thanks for playing, bring your left knee up to meet it. Feel free to rock side to side. It's a lot to think about, but when you really pay attention to all the little details, you get so much more out of your practice. So here we go. We're going to loop our left foot. Then we're going to bring both legs all the way down onto the ground. Your right leg is going to stay very straight with your foot flexed and active. Your left leg is also very straight, and all you're going to do is just start hoisting it up. Make sure you don't let your left knee bend. Don't let your right knee bend. Keep the right leg active. And we're just trying to find that perfect spot where we're feeling our left hamstring, but our form is still really impeccable, both legs. And then we just breathe. We don't let the left knee bend. We keep our attention on what we're feeling in our body. And then really, really pretend that your left hip, the back of your left buttock is glued to the mat. That should not move at all. There's no twisting involved. Left leg stays totally straight. You're still pulling on it. You're going to bring it a couple of inches in towards the midline of the body. If your foot is flexed and your knee is truly straight and you're paying attention and keeping your glute grounded, you're feeling it. Awesome. Release your strap. Hug your left knee in. Good job, left leg. Bring your right leg up to meet it. and rock side to side. Now, from here, we're going to go ahead and do our inversion. And so today I'm going to choose bridge for you. If you have back issues and you need to do it as a supported bridge, that's fine. But we kind of want to, again, balance things out. So when we come into a proper bridge pose, the front of the hips and the front of the thighs start to lengthen, which means it's the opposite of what we've been doing. So it's a counter pose. And I'm going to have you hold it for a little bit today. So be conscious again of your form. Big toes touch, heels separate, feet are flat on the mat. Go ahead and lift up. I want you to push through the big toe side of your feet. Push through your heels. Pretend you're tucking your tailbone under. Keep your knees the same distance as your heels. Lift your rib cage. Push through the big toe side of the foot, both heels. Tuck the tailbone under, lift your rib cage. Just keep that going. Keep pressing through the heels, pressing through the big toe side of the foot. Try and tilt the pelvis back this time. Couple more breaths, trying to get that sensation of opening on the front of the hips, front of the thighs. On your next exhale, just lower back down. Hug your knees in, rock side to side. And then we're going to do a really gentle twist today. So just keep your knees bent and together and just drop them over to the right. And let your left arm open out to the left. And take a few breaths here. And then those of you that do have a more advanced practice, if you have another version of a twist that you prefer to do, you're welcome to do it. Just do it in the same direction. If you're going to hang out in the gentler pose with me, then just start relaxing. Start focusing on your breathing and softening your body. Couple more breaths on this side. And then on your next inhale, let's go and bring those knees up. And as you exhale, just drop them over to the left and let your right arm open out. Take a couple of breaths here in this gentle pose, even if you're going to progress into something deeper. So just a couple breaths. And then those of you that want to, you are welcome to do a different variation of a twist if you prefer. Either way, no matter what you're doing here, just start focusing on your breathing again, allowing your body to soften and let go. Couple more breaths. On your next inhale, bring those legs back up. Hug your knees in. Big squeeze, rock side to side. You get to do happy baby today. Yay! So grab your ankles and wiggle. So interestingly enough, you've done all this hamstring work, you might be able to tell. So just kind of explore. See what the rest of your lower body's feeling like right now. A lot of times when we release hamstrings, the glutes and the low back get a little bit happier.
So see if that's true for you. If there is some pose that you really need today that I didn't do, this is a great opportunity to get to it. We've got about 5 or 6 more breaths here. My breaths, slow breaths. So take your time, do what you need to do. And then go ahead and bring your feet down to the mat. Let your knees drop open with the soles of the feet together. Just rest here in a very passive, relaxed pose for a few breaths. We're gonna let the inner thighs just finish releasing. And then on your next inhale, go ahead and flatten out your back. So you're just pressing your low back into the mat, getting that final little pelvic tilt. On your next exhale, release it. And just like that, you can extend your legs and find your Shavasana position for today. I usually recommend this anyway, but for sure today, you're probably gonna want to do a little internal, external rotation of the thighs. What that means is kind of rolling your legs in and out, doing that little windshield wiper action, and then just let them flop. That way you know that from where your thigh and your hip attach, things get relaxed. Make sure your glutes are soft, your spine is long. Always, always we make sure the shoulders are relaxed away from the ears. Our hands are below our shoulders. The neck is long. The face is soft. The eyes are closed. The jaw is relaxed. Take a deep breath in. Exhale with a sigh. Allow your body to just sink and settle into Shavasana. So this pose rewards us for our practice in more ways than one. But one of the rewards is that while we're here, everything we did during our practice is kind of soaking in. It's absorbing. The muscles that lengthened and strengthened are remembering that they're long and strong. The things that opened remain open. The one-pointed focus in pure presence with our awareness, like we remember that here. It's that much easier to stay present and to stay focused. And so for today's Shavasana, I want you to just really savor that. Just let all of that soak in. Enjoy the rewards, the fruits of your practice. Enjoy that pure presence, that pure awareness, that being in the moment that Shavasana gives you.
Just begin to feel back into your body now. Just notice how precious and sweet and dear this time alone with yourself to just be present really is. We do this in our yoga practice, but do we do it in the rest of our lives? If not, we should. Begin to move your fingers and toes and breathe a little deeper. And when you're ready, just take those bigger movements, inhaling to stretch or extend or spread, whatever you need to do, and exhaling through the mouth with a sigh as you relax your body. Do it as much as you need to. And when you have done it as much as you need to, then you can go ahead and just hug the knees into the chest, or if you prefer, just bend your knees with your feet on the floor and just rest there for a moment. And then roll to your right side. And press yourself up to sitting. So our breath work today is going to be Kapalabhati, that vigorous pumping breath. So there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that we're at full moon time. I believe the full moon is tomorrow evening. And it's kind of like a full moon on steroids because it's a full moon lunar eclipse. So that's a whole lot of lunar energy. So we're doing a solar breath to just balance that out. The other reason that we're doing this is, hey, it's Monday. We got another week to get through. So why not start it off with some really good energy? Now, having said all of that, it is a stunningly beautiful spring, but all of the blooming has some of you suffering with allergies. If you've got allergies going on, Kapalabhati is not a good option, and you can just do some nice ujjayi breathing. So that vigorous pumping breath to kind of get things rolling. And then if there is anyone in the group that's just like, yes, let's do this, and maybe a little more accomplished with their Kapalabhati breathing, like you've practiced it for a long time, you're comfortable with it, if and only if you want to amp it up to the next level, you use some finger of your right hand to block your left nostril, and you do Kapalabhati through the right side only. Now, that's purely optional. If you're not great with Kapalabhati breathing, I don't recommend it. And again, you have to be clear through that right nostril. So you choose what's best for you. We're just going to be doing one round. Whether you block your left nostril or not, go whatever speed you need to go to make sure that it's coming from the abdomen. All right. So really straight spine, relaxed shoulders. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Exhale completely through your nose. Take another deep breath in through your nose. Breathe out half of your air and begin. Take a big inhale, raise your arms overhead, spread your fingers. Exhale, float your arms all the way down. Just let your hands rest on your knees or thighs. Close your eyes, and one more time, check in with yourself. So you already know what the practice did for you because you spent your Shavasana just sort of reveling in that. Notice what this breath did for you. And then bring your palms together in front of your heart. So I've said it many, many times before, and I'll probably say it many, many more times, but this practice has survived more than 5,000 years because it works. Let's take a moment in gratitude that we have the opportunity to benefit from this practice. Whatever yoga has done for you or given you, just have some gratitude. a lot of people have brought this practice forward, and I know I, for one, am really grateful that they have. Take one more deep, deep inhale. Big sigh. Palms to the forehead, just reminding us to stay present, to not miss our lives. Palms in front of the mouth, reminding us to speak our truth. And in order to speak it, we have to know it. Palms in front of the heart, reminding us to keep our hearts open. So we can always come from a place of kindness, compassion, understanding. Thank you for joining me today. Namaste.